Welcome to another edition of Intuitive Eating Tips with Taylor. My name is Taylor. I'm a nutrition expert, aka registered dietitian, and I coach women who have dieted for years on how they can create a healthy relationship with food using intuitive eating so they can ultimately create more peace and balance in their life when it comes to their eating habits. So on today's Intuitive Eating Tip with Taylor, I am talking all about how you can use intuitive eating and gentle nutrition, which is one of the core pillars of intuitive eating, to take care of your heart health. So why am I talking about this now? Because as this video airs in February, that means it is National Heart Month in America. And I want to shine a light on the fact that intuitive eating can be used and it can be for anyone, honestly, and it can be tweaked and worked in ways that you can make it work to take care of any health condition. But like I said, today we're really focusing on heart disease because, of course, like I said, it's February, it's National Heart Month, but heart disease is the leading cause of death for Americans. And so I think it's just important to talk about ways you can take care of that. And again, just shine a light on the fact that health does not go off the table with intuitive eating. And another thing that I want to know, my first job ever as a registered dietitian was at a cardiac rehab clinic where I worked with heart disease patients and taught them a lot about how they could take care of their health using nutrition. So I want to apply that to intuitive eating and show you how you can use it here. So I'm going to go through 3 tips for you today, as I said, because I want to keep this short and sweet, but know that there's probably a lot more information out there that you could learn. And if you have more questions, just feel free to reach out to me. So tip number 1 for how you can take care of your heart health with intuitive eating and gentle nutrition. Well, let me back up first. Let me talk about what gentle nutrition is before I get into the tips. So first and foremost, gentle nutrition is, like I said, a pillar of intuitive eating, and it's just one part of it. And just because intuitive eating is about allowing yourself to have freedom with food and allowing yourself to enjoy all foods, like I said, does not mean we're taking nutrition or healthy foods off of the table. And that's where gentle nutrition comes into play. It's actually the very last pillar of intuitive eating and typically gets talked about last for a specific reason that I'll talk about at another time. But gentle nutrition really is marrying the satisfaction piece of intuitive eating. So that is allowing yourself to enjoy all foods, but also marrying the nutrition knowledge that you can gain from intuitive eating so that you can take into consideration both the foods that you like to eat, as well as foods that take care of your health, but you still like to eat as well. So that's what gentle nutrition is about. Like I said, just taking into consideration those healthy foods and thinking about ways you can add them into your life instead of looking at ways you can take certain foods away. So that's a very brief, in a nutshell, what gentle nutrition is. So now I can get into the 3 tips I have for taking care of your heart health with intuitive eating and gentle nutrition. So tip number 1 is to add more plant-based protein into your life. Now, this depends on where you're personally at in your own life right now. If you're someone who is a vegetarian or eats very plant-based already, then maybe this isn't the step you need to take first. Maybe you need to focus on a different area of nutrition in your life, like adding in more fruits and veggies or whole grains with fiber. But if you're someone who eats a lot of meat right now, or like animal protein, which is completely fine, but it wouldn't be realistic of you to go completely plant-based if right now you eat a ton of meat or you eat meat at every meal. So again, this depends on where you're at in your life, but a good suggestion to add in more plant-based protein to your life is to pick like a night a week, like a Monday, like a meatless Monday, where you are going to have at your dinner, you're going to use a plant-based protein in your meal instead of using an animal-based protein. Why is this? Why do you want to get more plant-based protein? Well, research has shown that the more animal protein that you ingest does increase your risk for heart disease. There are other factors outside of this and outside of what you eat that contribute to heart disease, and I'll kind of talk about that soon. But there is some research that shows a large consumption of animal product can contribute to your risk for heart disease. So just, again, finding ways to incorporate more plant-based protein, not necessarily taking out meat completely, especially if it's something you really love. That's not realistic for yourself. But again, finding ways to just incorporate it gently. And just very briefly, a list of some plant-based proteins that you can incorporate into your meals. Think things like beans, so black beans, chickpeas, hummus, because that's made out of chickpeas, tofu, tempeh, which are soy products, or soy milk, soy nuts. I'm trying to think what else. I can't think off the top of my head. Look it up. Look up some plant-based sources of protein, because I do want to keep this video pretty short. But look up plant-based sources of protein, see what you like, and just try and, like I said, very gradually, depending on where you're at, get in more plant-based protein. Tip number 2 for taking care of your heart health using intuitive eating. Work on coping with your stress. So one of the pillars of intuitive eating are working on coping with your emotions with kindness and not with using food. And like I said, my very first job as a registered dietitian, I worked at a cardiac rehab clinic. And I want to point out that I was just one part of this cardiac rehab clinic. The nutrition piece was one part that these heart disease patients came in and learned. They also went through exercise, they also went through stress management, and then they also went through group support where they got to sit and talk together and with a facilitated therapist as well. So like I said earlier, there's more to your heart health than what you eat, and stress causes so much, I don't know what to say. Stress brings on a lot of negative impacts to your health, especially if you have chronic stress. So if you can work on coping with your stress, especially if you have a lot, that can ultimately impact your heart health in a positive way. So here are just some brief coping mechanisms that you can start to think about or maybe start working on to help cope on your stress and reduce it in your life. Things like meditation. I use a really nice app. It's called Insight Timer. It's completely free. And they have tons of meditations on there that you can find for whatever you're dealing with in life. Journaling. I know it's not everyone's things, but I truly believe that journaling and writing things down is very beneficial. But other things are therapy, or talking to a friend, or even getting in some joyful movement. So exercise, which I'll talk about next in the next tip. But there are so many ways that you can work on coping with stress and reducing it in your life. So again, just kind of think about it. Think about how much stress is in your life. Maybe think about what the triggers are for stress in your life and see if there's any way you can remove some stress, especially if it's food. We could obviously work on that together. If food is a big stress in your life, working on taking that out and creating that healthy relationship with food. And then, like I said, I'm going to go on to tip number 3, which is joyful movement, which is another way that could help benefit your stress levels. So this is my last tip to take care of your heart health with intuitive eating. Focus on joyful movement, which is another pillar of intuitive eating. There are 10 of them. So I've talked about 3. So what is joyful movement? It is exercise, but it is exercise that brings you joy. It is not exercise that you dread or you do out of punishment for what you ate. It is just finding ways to move your body in really just any way that you love and just that you want to do and brings you joy, and focusing more on how the movement can make you feel rather than focusing on how it can change the way you look too. So why does this matter to your heart health? Of course, I think we can all agree that exercise is great for our health. And if you can find ways that you love to move your body, you're going to end up doing it more because you're going to look at the benefits of how it's making you feel and impacting things like your heart health, rather than, like I said, focusing on that number, how it's changing your body, which ultimately can get you to the place where you actually enjoy it and you want to do it. So my biggest suggestion for you is to look at where you like to do exercise, what kinds you like to do. Do you like to do it with other people? Do you like to go on a walk with a friend? Do you like to be by yourself? Do you like to go to a gym class? Do you want to go to a gym? Do you like to be at home or outside? So think about what you like and just pick one thing that you want to try and start doing to bring more exercise or movement into your life, but joy as well. And like I said, focus more on how it makes you feel and the benefits towards your health rather than how it's going to change your body. And I promise it'll be more joyful when you do learn to focus more on that. And this is another one where I would say just ease into it. Make sure you go at your own pace. If you're someone who does like 7 days a week of exercise right now, which is probably, I would suggest getting a rest day there at that point, then that obviously is realistic to you. But if you're someone who does absolutely no type of movement right now, it wouldn't be realistic to say, oh, I'm going to exercise every single day. Pick 1 day a week. Pick 1 day a week where you're going to do that thing that you love, and then go from there. You can always build things up, but when you start all at once, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So there you have it. There are my 3 tips to take care of your heart health using intuitive eating as well as gentle nutrition. I hope those tips were super helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, comment on this post wherever you're watching it from. I would love to talk more and answer more in depth, because that was a very general overview and I could probably make a longer video on this topic, but I like to keep these as short and sweet as possible. So like I said, comment, let me know what you thought. And if you have any ideas for future intuitive eating tips with Taylor, please feel free to share those as well. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.